Okay, then. Good afternoon, good night, good morning, not good afternoon. I want to be in my country this. My name is Ángeles de Vicente, and I came from the National Institute for Safety and Work in Spain. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm going to share with you some insights about the effects of climate change in work's health. By the end of the talk, you will know how we have developed the project and also the occupational risks that we have found that are related with the climate change. This is very important. We are not researching all the occupational risks, but those that are related with the climate change. And I'm going to divide my talk in 4 parts, with the typical parts, with the aims and background, methodology, results, conclusions, and to know how we are going to continue with the project. Summer, Spain. One day under a plastic of a greenhouse in Almeria. Summer also, 3 in the afternoon, in a street of Barcelona. In the middle of a forest fire. We have several of them in Spain this summer. And this one is of the Dana in Valencia. All these images have the same situation, well, are not the same situation, but have something in common, and are these occupational risks related to climate change. And from now on, we will have to take a look at this and to focus on this, because this is going to continue for a long time. This project is focused on the safety and health at work Spanish strategy, and exactly in the first action plan. And we have been developing the project during past year, and this year we are going to publish the products. We have several goals in this project. The first of all was to find out which workers were the most affected. And we center our attention to those who work outside most of the time. Also, we wanted to identify the occupational risks related to this climate change, as I told you, and what were the health effects caused by these occupational risks. And who are we talking about? Fishermen, and also sailors and shellfish gatherers, firefighters, food delivery people cleaning the streets, installer of electricity, farmers, sorry, the photographs are very big. Construction, oh, okay, and the other one was athletes, sports, women and sports. Okay, and how we do this? Our methodology, what we do was to do a triangulation of information, and we use different sources. At first, we use the statistical analysis in order to know with the occupational accidents where we could find the most important accidents outside. With that we could select exactly the occupations, and after that we go to the labor force survey, the Spanish one, and with those occupations we could characterize with more variables. After that, we go to the literature review, gray and scientific review, and we use like 185 documents with different words of different occupations and different risks. And at the end, we use a qualitative technique in order to do individual and group interviews. We did 10 interviews and we talked to 31 experts of different areas, of different sectors of these occupations, of workers and also technicians. And now we are in the results. And I'm going to show you the results grouped in 7 groups with the different kind of risks. The first one are the physical risks. Of course, exposure to extreme heat temperatures was the most named in also in the literature and also in the interviews. These risks produce a lot of health effects as dehydration, difficulty to concentrate in the task, failure of the body's thermoregulatory system, syncope, or death, even death. And the sectors that were more affected by this were construction, agriculture, and specific professions like the delivery workers, police force, firefighters, and so on. And there is one thing that I want to say here, is that sometimes we can add to characterize, for example, heat and humidity, and that means that the effects, the health effects, can be more profound. And that happens, for example, in the greenhouse. I have showed you the image of the greenhouse. This is very typical of that. And it's important to focus on that because of the preventive measures that we have to take in order not to have these health effects. And another combination is heat and exercise. And this is very typical of firefighters, for example, and also athletes and sports, men and women. And I want to talk about these measures that are very important, the acclimatization and also hydration, of course, to do stops at work and controlling the risk posed by high temperatures. And the other one was the solar ultraviolet radiation that you can imagine that in Spain that is very, very, very important. And we know that this exposure causes eyes and skin diseases. And in this point, I wanted to talk about one of the typical protective prevention, that is sunscreen. And what we have seen is that many of these occupations that happen outside are masculinized, and men have had problems in Spain. Men have problems with sunscreen, some occupations, and this is a problem because they need to protect, but they don't want to protect with sunscreen. And we have a problem with that. Of course, there are lots of other measures that we can use, like shaded areas, for example, or special clothing in order not to have these effects. And this is the typical one, but of course we have other ones, like biological risks. Yesterday my partner Raquel was talking about this. And the thing is that climate change is altering the distribution of these disease-transmitting vectors, and especially of ticks, mosquitoes, and all this. And in Spain, we have like different illnesses, depending on viruses and bacteria, depending on the place. In the south, especially in Seville and Huelva, we have West Nile virus cases that we haven't in the past. In Canary Islands, we have Zika, dengue fever, and West Nile virus, the same that we haven't several years ago. In the center of the peninsula is more arachnic ticks and rodents, and in other parts of Spain, like the north, we have species such as Asian hornet, Vespa velutina. Well, we have all these diseases, and this is a problem. And at the same time that we have this, all the countries have this, and most on the south. The next group is chemical risks, and there are like a greater exposure to airborne particles, specifically in construction, and what this is to increase the chronic respiratory diseases. And also in agriculture, we have these extreme weather conditions can affect the volatility and absorption of chemicals, of fertilizers and pesticides. And also, we have the problem with the fires, because the chemicals that are produced in the combustion is also affecting, and we have more fires now because of the climate change. Next one is the ergonomic risk. Well, I put this photograph, but imagine what I want to say especially is I want to focus on forest firefighters, that they do a lot of work with their bodies, and they have to do more work because we have more fires. And also people that are in the reconstruction tasks have to do all that work, and that means more musculoskeletal disorders. The fifth group talks about psychological risks, and we have stress and fatigue due to exposure to extreme cold and heat temperatures, also violence, and this one, the stress due to unpredictable financial situations. And I put that photograph because there are sectors that depends on the production of the weather. Agriculture and fishing are having problems because the situation is changing because of climate change, and also stress and fatigue due to work overload. And in this point, I want to talk about athletes. That in Spain, as it's very hot in the south and center of the country, they are going with their coaches to the north of Spain in order to train. And that means that they have to live very far away from their families, and they can balance work and family life. And that is producing mental health problems for them. This one, I talk about the fires, workplace accidents because of the fires, of course, and falling trees, and also traffic accidents that are related with climate change. And in this one, emerging risks that are happening, of course, and this is the more evident because of these situations that we are having with the DNAs and other situations. And what we did with this? What we did is a technical report that I can show you, and I can take it in my hand as Robert did, because it's going to be published at the end of this month. And we have this technical report with all the explanation of the risks, and we have done 36 occupational facets, each one of each occupation that we have researched. And it's great because technicians could take this information in order to do their assessments. My conclusions in this is that climate change is a generator and amplifier of certain occupational risks that we have seen. In Spain, the most affected sectors are primary, construction, emergency services, and cleaning. The effects on workers are a lot of them and very varied, like cardiovascular diseases, skin illnesses, thermal stress, infections, allergies, respiratory diseases, musculoskeletal disorders, injuries, emotional and behavioral disorders, post-traumatic stress, and so on. And the adaptation to these risks requires preventive strategies as epidemiological surveillance, prevention training, monitoring technologies, and improvements in protective equipment. Before I finish, let me highlight a couple of things. The first one is that climate change has changed our working conditions, and it's important to take this into account when we are going to conduct the occupational risk assessments. Think about the images that I have been showing you along the presentation, and in order to see that climate change is here, and we must do everything possible in our position as researchers and technicians, in order to protect workers' health. Thank you very much.